Okay, let's start with one thing. Is there any interview in the world that, anyone never talked to you about the Smiths?
No, but it's not. But it's quite unusual that people start the interview with that question.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So it's a first?
So this is a first, yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Congratulations.
Yeah, can we just... Oh, I did this with your
Congratulations.
Yeah, so because when I listened to your last album called Comet, actually, tell me about the name of the album called The Comet.
Yeah, well, Call the Comet is a line from the song The Tracers, and it came about because the song The Tracers is about is a story about Earth making a request to a sort of a higher intelligence, say, a more evolved version of ourselves, who are called the Tracers, to come and so it's a little like a science fiction story, but it's a little also like a religious thing as well. To come anyway, to ask where we call for this help to reset the environment ecologically, spiritually, politically, just to help us out. Really, that was the idea of the Tracers. And I don't really think it's such a sort of strange concept, because really humankind has been praying to some entity that we can't see, whether it's through religion or astrology, excuse me, or superstition, to unknown forces for as long as we know. So I just did the same thing, and so part of this story of the Tracers is that they come with a comet to help reset. So it's not about destruction. It's about rebuilding. It's about rebuilding, rejuvenation.
Yeah, because when I listen to it, obviously my interpretation, it's that the Tracers are actually a metaphor for ourselves to act.
Well, it's more of not a metaphor. No, I was actually thinking, trying to make it like not aliens,
an entity. Really.
That's the word, yeah. And because that to me is a positive thing, because religion isn't working and capitalism isn't working, and as we know it, politics isn't working. But in a way, it was about admitting that we're powerless, but we need help, really. So it's coming from a very humanitarian, I think, feeling, And it was a phrase that came to me about 3:30 in the morning when I was writing the song, and I was half asleep, and the song was nearly written, and it came from Call the Comet. I thought, oh, that's good. I put it in the song, and then the next day I thought, well, that's a good album title, and it kind of encapsulates where I'm at, really.
This is from your third solo album.
Yeah.
From the three, it is the one that has a very specific story, or it has not really conceptual, but it has a very specific theme.
Yeah.
And we have to say it's political, okay? Because in the last couple of years, I don't think anyone who has a voice or wants to put his art out can do an album or can do anything that is not going to represent the ambience we have nowadays.
Well put, yeah.
Was that what you wanted to do with this album?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think what you're saying is right. We're all at the effect of it, but actually what happened with me as a person, an individual, I went in to make tracks, write songs to escape from the political scene.
The escapism of art.
Yeah.
Through art.
The same way as I did when I was 15, when I used to try and escape the adult world and a future of no job and teenage stuff, and I would go and just play guitar and make these tapes, and when Call the Comet started off like that, because I do what I do. I like making a record, but I had no plan for it. I didn't think I will make a science fiction record or I'll make a concept record. The only thing I thought was I will not put politics into it. So it's a kind of a irony or a paradox that in trying to avoid politics, and I didn't want to say this is why Donald Trump is a dick. I didn't want to say this is why England is fucked. I didn't want to say I don't like the right wing. I was like, no, because many reasons, but I didn't want specific characters in my music. I don't think they're worthy of it. I didn't want to put them into the audience's mind.
You didn't want to give the actors of his calamity protagonism.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But you wanted to give the social kind of ambience and turbulence the protagonism.
Well, almost. I think you knit half right. No, I thought I was going to completely avoid it, and that's all. I didn't have a plan as to how, but when I was writing, I subconsciously, so the song Rise, for instance, which is basically after the apocalypse, and it opens the album.
Yeah.
In trying to avoid saying there's been an apocalypse or Trumpism is fucked, instead of singing about two people, a dialogue between two lovers or two friends who are left to rebuild, and maybe they're not the only people left on the earth, but they have to rebuild their world. So that's why it's like, it starts off, here they come, it's the dawn of the dogs, they howl, they never let up. Now, I came up with that line because I flew into New York the day after Donald Trump was elected, and when I was coming from the airport, I knew because of Brexit what my American friends were going to go through. The feeling of first shock, disappointment, anger, worry, confusion, and then heartbreak. I arrived and there was a sense of shock in the air on the street, and I was in this car, and this line, well, here they come, it's the dawn of the dogs. And I thought, okay, I'm a songwriter, so I thought that's a good line for a song, right? And then I thought it was a good opening for the album, so I then started to imagine this story of two people, because I wanted it to be positive. I didn't want to start singing about the protagonists. I wanted to sing about the people, us. So then the song is a dialogue between two people afterwards in this new imagined society. So that was just the first song, and then New Dominions, this other song came about. I got the music together because the type of music is very industrial. I'll be playing it tonight. It's like I put drum machine through these effects pedals because I moved into this new factory space.
I'm sorry to interrupt you on that one, but I really wanted to say this because I feel like in this album you introduced those electronics and those little dynamics that I feel that are a little bit from the beginning, like from electronic.
Yeah, that's okay to me. Yeah.
That you kind of left when you started to have more guitar-driven career.
Yeah. Well, for me.
And on the other two albums, on Playland and the first one, you didn't use it that much.
No.
I think you went a little out of your element in this one.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting.
Well, two things. One is because of the environment, is because I'm in this industrial space. I have an association with industrial spaces and industrial music because I left school in 1979 and the music was Human League and Cabaret Voltaire and Throbbing Gristle and early The and stuff. So that process, Perubu, that process is, to me, is always going to be futuristic. And so the combination of those two things, the environment and my association with it being futuristic, is to me always more interesting than creating that music, pushing a mouse on a screen and putting it, painting it in on a computer. It's not as much fun as getting on your knees in a big factory and all of this. So the music came about from that. But then this continuation of trying to avoid naming the protagonists the song New Dominions might sound, it may to some people sound a bit abstract, but it's the line "Only Lovers Left Alive" is that comes from a book, a 1960s book by this Dave Wallace, who and with the story of a futuristic story where the only people who are allowed to be in society are teenagers, and so I'm singing it from the point of view of one of the teenagers, and having no concerns about the afterlife, and it just being so very hedonistic and very powerful because there's no fear of death, you know. So all the time, and there's many examples throughout the album of that, and of course then the traces as I mentioned, and so all the time. Day in, Day Out is very, very personal.
Yeah,
Day in, Day Out is about me writing a song. It's a song
because
about.
Because you always, I heard a few interviews of yours where you say that you.
Sorry, I was looking for a cup of tea. I thought I brought
your cup of tea is there because I changed the sofa.
Oh, sorry, yeah, is that okay? Thank you. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I heard you say like, why not, music that comes from the brain and not music that comes from the heart? Why it's always has to come from the heart? What's the problem if music comes from the brain?
Yeah.
I heard you say that a few times, but I think Day in, Day Out came a bit from the heart.
Yeah, well, that's the difference between that's the difference between this record and the others. You were right. The sonics are different on this record, but also this thing you're talking about is different. When I first went solo with these records, it was very interesting to me to try and write words that were from the brain and not the heart, because I thought there was a lot of people around who were singing too much from the heart, really. What they think, very schmaltzy kind of like, kind of sentimental words, and I wanted to do something different. I didn't really want to be singing about myself. I thought I could sing more interesting things than that. But because I went into this record without a plan, sometimes I was feeling emotional, and I forgot to not do that. Right? I just forgot to not sing from the heart. And Day in, Day Out.
But can't you have that freedom?
Yeah, I can now. Yeah. So Day in, Day Out was about artistic torment. So I love being a musician. I love being a songwriter. But when I make records, it completely takes me over. It possesses me. I forget to phone people. I bang my elbow. I kind of, I park the car in a stupid way, and people around me are kind of like, oh, he's a little crazy because he's making a record. My family stay away, and that's okay. It consumes me, and sometimes that's tricky. Sometimes it's hard, and you wake up feeling a bit crazy, and you go to bed feeling a bit crazy, and it's artistic torment. And I've had that feeling from being a child, and so Day in, Day Out is about that. It's what in psychological terms is called fusing, which is like you just get obsessed.
Do you think you live in a little bit in conflict?
Yeah. And I think it's good for your music.
Yeah. I think
it's good for your work. But if you lose that, then you just get fat. Which I know that. So I'm not pointing any fingers. No, you get fat in your mind, and life can be more comfortable, but it's boring. So I have to have that.
Do you think you changed because when you started your solo career, you went back to Manchester, right?
Yeah.
Did that change for you in any way, as a musician?
Well, what had happened?
Going back to your home place?
No, I did that deliberately. What had happened was I had changed before that because I was living in America.
Okay, so the decision was
to go and reconnect and reconnect and get uptight. Because in Portland, Oregon, it was getting very comfortable for me. I was in this big American band in Modest Mouse, and we were doing very, very big shows, and we were doing very well. And I had a nice little house there, and great friends and everything. And I thought, well, if the kind of music I want to make, like we're discussing now, needs to be a little bit of uptight. So I thought, well, where's the most uptight place to go? England. So with all these traffic wardens and stupid politicians and idiot people who voted for these politicians. And so I thought, well, I'll go back there and get myself nice and uptight. So I reconnected in Manchester. I'm not a very nostalgic person. I'm not nostalgic for my school days. I'm not nostalgic for my childhood. I'm not nostalgic for the Smiths. I'm not nostalgic for anything. The opposite. I don't like looking back. But because I was forming my own group, I wanted to be near the place where, before the Smiths, before people got to know me, where my values were about rock music. So, in other words, I didn't want to have a band who the drummer lives in California and the keyboard player lives in Berlin, and I wanted to be like the bands that I used to like when I was in school. So I went back to the place. I went back to Manchester because it had a vibe, a new wave vibe. It reminds me of Magazine, and it reminds me of the Buzzcocks, and it reminds me of Factory Records. So it's about my values, really. It's not about nostalgia.
So it's like almost like a clean slate?
It was, yeah. I've been doing this now, running bands from being 15. I left school at 15 to be in bands with adults, and play shows and stuff. And I know how to run bands, so if that's what it takes, that's what I do. Like when I moved to Portland to live in Portland was because I joined Modest Mouse. These were strangers, but I went there because the music was so good, and I thought it'd make me a more interesting musician, and I would learn some stuff, which I did. But me and my family go, okay, right, we have to go to America. It wasn't to go and live in California and sit by a pool with sunglasses on. I've never done that. It was to go to Portland, Oregon, because it was an inspiring, kind of edgy, artistic, creative place. And it was putting myself out of my comfort zone. And all my decisions so far in my life, from being a teenager, have been about what's the best thing for the group, because that's what I do, run groups.
Since you talk about Modest Mouse, can I just ask you one thing? Because I'm really interested in the geeky part of your instruments, stuff like that. Is that with a dashboard from Modest Mouse? The first time you played the Jaguar?
Yeah. Well, I had one years before, and I would pick it up and go, I don't like this guitar. But dashboard was when I picked up.
You didn't like the Jaguar?
No.
Because you
years
played
before.
the Telecaster, right?
Yeah. Years before I had a Jaguar and I sold it. I don't sell guitars, but I got rid of it or I swapped it. I wish I hadn't now, because it was a cool green one. And but Isaac had one the first night I was in Portland, and I picked it up and I had these chords, but it didn't sound like dashboard. And the Jaguar just said, play this, and I just played dashboard, and he sang dashboard, and then we had dashboard in about 2 minutes.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was good. So that's why I was like, shit, this thing's pretty good.
And then you made your own.
Yeah. I mean,
it's mainly the guitar you
always
use.
It's the only guitar I use. In the studio, I use different guitars to complement, but they always sound like the Jag. The Jag, now for me, the one that I use, it sounds like 3 different guitars. It sounds like a Gretsch and a Rickenbacker and a Fender all in one. So it would have saved me many journeys. It was like I waited all those years. I waited till I was maybe 40 to find exactly the thing that sounded like me all the way. Really sounds like me, that Jag. So I can play everything on it. It's great.
Yeah, that's it. Because in the album also, I have to tackle just very fast about this. The high hello, obviously, you can feel the Smiths in that song.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can feel the Smiths. You can feel Johnny Marr.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with that guitar in live, I don't know if you're going to play that song tonight, but with that guitar you can go from your bands, because it is. You can go from band to band, because there's always a little bit of the I can feel in the album too.
That's right.
And you can feel the Smiths. So with your perfect Jaguar, you can just ride the waves of your career.
I will demonstrate that very thing for you tonight.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll do that. It's amazing how good
Can you just say, Vera, this is for you?
Vera's predicted it. Vera's like a psychic, a musical psychic. I think, no, well that's why my own Jaguar, the ones with my name on it, do what you've just described. They sound like what I do in the Smiths, they sound like what I do on called the Comet and Playland, and they sound like what I did in Modest Mouse, and because I developed it in Modest Mouse really, and what I brought to Modest Mouse had quite a bit of the in it as well. The Modest Mouse record it's got some of the in it, so that's why I play it. It's a perfect instrument, and I've been playing it now for about 12 years, and it's quite unusual for a musician to be associated with any instrument, particularly when they started out. I was associated with Rickenbackers for so long, but now people think everyone knows I play Jag. If they know me, they know I play Jag. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think when you start, this needs already just. But when you start as a musician, you kind of take the guitar of your idol. That's
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
At least that's what when I used to play the guitar. Now I don't too much, but I kind of get that feeling when people go to a guitar store or instrument store. You see that guitar. Oh, that's the guitar I want that one because it's the one of my idol.
That's right. Yeah.
But when you start playing and when you start, making your own music and finding your own style, you necessarily change. Yeah, because you start to find your own sound.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened to you.
Yeah, it did.
And then
it did. Yeah.
You find maybe this is.
But also, I made a very conscious decision to play Rickenbackers, not because I wanted to be like the Byrds or any '60s band, because it was quite.
You have your influences.
But it was quite. Yeah, it does. But it was quite. Actually, I look back now. It was quite a good, smart move, really, because I knew that with the Smiths, when I got enough money to buy a new guitar, I bought a Rickenbacker because I knew that it would make me play different to everybody else, and it would bring out my strengths, and it would not make me play bluesy, because it's very easy to play bluesy on a guitar. So I was like, okay.
The pentatonic.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought this guitar, I have this association with it that it's to do with very harmonic and chords and arpeggios, and if I was actually, when I bought that guitar, I went, okay, I want to try and play Tamla Motown riffs on a Rickenbacker. So the very first things I did on that were these very early Smith songs, like You've Got Everything Now is one, and Jean was another one, and what's the other one? Accept Yourself. They all sound like Motown piano riffs, but I was doing it on a guitar. Rickenbacker, it's very, very unlike Steve Jones, the opposite. And I wanted it to be very feminine as well. I thought it would make me play very unmacho. Which was very important to play unmacho and to look unmacho and to act unmacho for my generation of men in 1980, 81, 82. Then something went really wrong in the 90s for everybody. But anyway, that's a different subject. But it was almost like a ideology. That my choice of guitar, Rickenbacker. It was a musical and sort of philosophical decision, and it was a good decision. It was smart.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
we can see that.
Yeah, but the Jag does everything the Rickenbacker can do and more.
And more. Mm. So I have everything.
You know what you're doing, Vera. I like it. It's good. It's good.
Thank you so much. But I have a friend back there. He's amazing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And he wants to interview you, and but I have a message for you. Where is my phone? Oh, I have it here.
Really? It's not from Bernard Sumner, is it?
What?
It's not from Bernard New Order, is it?
No.
Oh, it's not from Noel Gallagher, is it?
No.
Oh, that's okay then.
United or City?
City, all day long. Come on, David Silva.
I had to talk about soccer.
Yeah, or Leroy Sané.
I don't know that one.
Leroy Sané? God, that man, he's beautiful.
I'm that fanatic about soccer.
Check out Leroy Sané, though, he's beautiful.
Okay, I'll check
that out. Don't mean to objectify him just through his beauty, but fuck man, that guy's gorgeous.
I can objectify it a little bit.
Sure, I don't think he'll mind.
No, I have, because I met a friend of yours, very old friend of yours.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Matt
in the
Johnson?
summer. Yes.
Right. I should have. If you'd have given me 1 minute to think about it, I would have known it would be Matt Johnson. Yeah.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
I love him very much. And after the concert, we went out with the band for a few drinks and just chat all night. And we exchanged emails. It just gives me just so many advices on life. It's just super sweet.
Yeah.
And I told him, I'm going to hear Johnny Marr. I was super excited when I knew. And I said, I'm going to interview Johnny Marr. So he was talking to me about the song you played last year with them.
Oh yeah. Can't stop what's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, can't stop what's coming.
Yeah.
I think last week he played with you at a Roundhouse.
He did, yeah.
And he sang Summer in the City.
Yeah, he did a good job of it.
And it was the first time in 25 years that you were on stage together.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, well, my book, one of the great things about writing my autobiography, genuinely, on a personal level, is that you get to really pay tribute to the people that have helped you and the people you love, Matt's in that book a lot.
Yes.
He's in it a lot. Iggy Pop's in it a lot.
The boy, what?
Set the Boy Free.
Set the Boy Free, exactly.
I think Matt was surprised how much he was in that book, but we're very close. We're really close people. Yeah. When we met, I talk about it in the book, but without getting too corny. But when we met, it was one of those times I felt like, oh man, I don't really know whether reincarnation exists, but you feel like you know someone already.
Yeah, I think
it was like that with
the
Matt.
empathy.
Yeah, super empathy, like a soulmate.
Which is lacking a lot these days.
Yeah, even the idea of empathy is lacking.
Yeah.
So me and Matt have always been like that since 1981, way before before the Smiths and the got big. So, what's his message?
Around the things he says, we've known each other since we were in our late teens, pre-Smith.
Yeah.
And we sometimes don't see each other for a few years. He's a very dear friend and someone I'm always delighted to see and spend time with.
Yeah. He's a cool cat. Matt's a cool cat. He's a Man United fan though, so that's where everything falls to pieces. It all goes a little bit. Everything, all of this flowery, beautiful love thing just goes straight in the toilet. Football, too serious.
Too serious. Yeah, not for me. I prefer music.
Yeah, safe for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I love you.
Thank you.
Love meeting you. Yeah, so this was like a dream come true. Thank you, really.
Thank you.